points have been made. If so, do wave at me frantically and I'll make sure you get a chance to speak now. Otherwise, we'll continue with some more of the questions, but we do want you to join in this discussion. So if you're sitting there fuming inside, or you're sitting inside saying, wow, that's exactly what I think, and wonderful they're saying this, we would like to hear from you as well. Please don't just sit there and listen today, we would like you to join in as well. Please, yes.
I want to say thank you, and we're talking a lot about equality, diversity and inclusion, and it all sounds really good, but how do you know it's really happening, how do you know it's really working? And sometimes I sit this side and I think, oh, it sounds so good. That sounds like the tick box, but this side of the table ain't looking so good.
So what do you think is the priority? I've asked each of them what they think is the priority. What do you think is the priority for council?
Open and honesty comes to mind, the fact that they really have to knuckle down and really know what's going on and listen to people. Everybody has a voice and everybody has an opinion. A lot of things are hidden, and I don't think a lot of people are empowered to actually say what's really going on. And tell the truth. They'll rather bury their heads in the sand and hope that it passes, or just settle for what's ever happening to them. And I don't know if there is a forum to have that voice and have people listen without prejudice, and if somebody is tackled, or if the whole thing about diversity is that we learn from each other, and if something does happen, or if something is said, that the amount of times the defence barrier goes up, and it's not about the defence barrier going up, it's about understanding how somebody else feels and dealing with it without having to feel that it's something personal, that somebody's attacking, or something, it was really personal.
There's a few nods around the room, so is there a mechanism for that?
Well, not so much a mechanism, but in response to your question in terms of how do you know, just reflecting on my own experiences, I think you have to ask. I think you have to actively go out and ask, and then if you ask the question, you've really got to listen to the answer when people give you the answer, because my expectation is when I ask the question, I get an answer that is coming across the right way. Sometimes you don't want to hear, but it's important that you listen to the answer, if that makes sense. And my reflection is that, and I'll talk about it from a fire service perspective, we're on a journey. And in places, when we ask the question, or when I ask the question, it is working, but in places it's not. And I think you have to kind of take the good and accept this stuff where there's a lot of work still needs to be done. And I think one mechanism for knowing that it's working is actually there are many more issues of inequality, diversity and inclusion nature that get raised, because you start to create a culture where people think it's worth me raising it, as opposed to what's the point of raising it. And as a senior leader, that's really difficult, because you try and create a culture where people do, and then stuff gets raised, and it makes your shoulders drop.
You're opening a can of worms.
Because it's really difficult stuff, and it's really at the kind of core of people, some of this stuff, really personal impact type stuff. So you're constantly kind of have to check yourself that this is a good thing, this stuff is being raised, because this isn't something we're going to solve in 6 weeks. This is a journey for a number of years. And then my final point would be that I think sometimes we have to be realistic to accept that as an organisation we are reflective of society, and you open the newspaper every single day and there are difficult stories about equality, diversity and inclusion in there, and differing views about that. Just this week, there's kind of big front page story this week is Liam Neeson, and the stories around that. And next week it'll be something else, and the week after it'll be something else. So there is acceptance isn't the right word, but an understanding that sometimes our organisations are reflective of the societal challenges that are around us as well. But we do have an opportunity to rise above that.
I promise you I'm not going to pants on you if you put your hands up. But can you... sorry, I'll come to you in a moment if I may. Can I just put this button first? Can you just put your hand up if you feel you are listened to? Let's take the positive side. If you had an issue, do you feel you're... I won't come and ask you about it. I'm just wondering, a bit of a show of hands. Oh yeah.
I've got a half hand.
So it's about, you're putting a half hand up. You don't mind a half hand up, that's fine. That's interesting, thank you. So,
Can I just explore, I don't want to put you on the spot, so what's your name? It's
Karen Walker.
Karen. So it would be really, one of the things I'd like to say, so we have all the formality, don't we, of an organisation, the complaints process and so on, and in fact, Jeanette, our new head of HR, and I were talking about this in the day in terms of cultural competency, which sounds a bit grand, but basically what does it feel like to work here? And I'm very conscious, we're a large organisation, over 5,000 staff. I think we have something like 400 bases if you add in fire stations and registry offices and so on. So I'm always really interested in how it feels, not in this building, well I'm interested in this building, but not just this building, across the board as well. So we have been looking at the staff survey, but they're kind of mechanisms. It'd be really interesting to get a sense, whether you're able to say in this forum or we can have a conversation, how would you like us to check in with you as well? And Mark's right, it's a bit like, as soon as you, it's like take our new sickness absence policy. I am expecting that we will see an increase in absence because we will be reporting it more accurately. And so we have to live with that consequence, we have to accept it. I would rather have the conditions and the culture where people feel they can, in a safe space, which I think is what I'm hearing you say, but correct me if I've got that wrong, because it's really important we listen and we understand to what we say, but that may be aside from the formal process, it may be how it feels to work in this area, to work in this team. I am aware, and just to kind of reassure people without getting into the detail, I am aware of some issues in the organisation, in certain directorates, that are being dealt with, and I expect them to come up onto my radar, and they do. But it'd be interesting whether we could explore that now, or we could do it after the meeting. What would you like to see? What other mechanisms could we use to check back in with a whole range of people across the organisation, without making them uncomfortable, but to genuinely move things forward?
let's come back to that at the end, shall we? Because we're going to have a call to action. I've got another hand on at the back.